First Unreal, God, it takes me back. I mean, it's been so long. The game, it essentially took about 3 years start to finish, and the last year was the most difficult one because we were holed up in a little office in Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, a little college town about an hour or two outside of Toronto. And we were working 14 to 16-hour days, and fundamentally, as a game designer, the best logic that you can always follow is to make the kind of game that you want to play, and that's what we were doing. We were working our butts off to make a collective vision of something that was beautiful and interesting and compelling. It was a world that gamers wanted to explore, that was rich with beautiful environments and interesting alien creatures and fascinating locales.
We began developing Unreal in 1995. That was when Epic made the transition from being a little developer with 2 or 3 person teams to building a real development organization and company. Unreal was our first really major production. That's where we learned to develop a large-scale piece of software with a large team, integrate lots of artists in the pipeline, and build significant tools to help everybody create the game.
We were a bunch of kids throwing as much cool stuff at the wall and seeing essentially what stuck. And as fate had it, a lot of it did stick, and we wound up with a golden product that had a lot of gamers look back at with an incredible sense of nostalgia. I mean, going into the introduction of the Scar as the first enemy with the lights turning off and the creature leaping out in the darkness with the techno music blaring, I mean, to this day is still one of the most affecting moments in gaming history. To take all of that universe and to then transition that from the first Unreal into the mega hit that was Unreal Tournament, it was actually a really easy transition to make. We started off Unreal Tournament as an add-on pack. It was called the Bot Pack initially, named after Steve Polge's Reaper bots.
And actually, as we started working on it, we realized that hey, this is really fun, and this is really cool. This deserves more time, and it developed into its own big franchise.
And Mark Rain came in with his usual 800-pound gorilla demeanor, guys, we got to make this, this a full product. This demands to be, on the market as a retail game. And we're like, Mark, we thought it would be an add-on pack. And he's like, no, we're going to call it Unreal Tournament, and we're going to add these cool features. And we're like, you know what? Let's do it.
The very first Unreal game shipped in May of 1998. And shortly after that, a bunch of us, myself, Steve Polge, James Schmaltz, Tim Sweeney, Cliff Blazinski, and a few others, sat in the hotel room at E3 right after the game had been released and talked about plans for making an add-on pack. And what we wanted to focus on was this idea of using the bots to play network games against players and give you a real lifelike experience. And ultimately, that became Unreal Tournament.
If I could go back and do it again, I'd do it in a nanosecond, and everybody that was involved would do it, because it was not only the launching of multiple careers, it was also the launch of a franchise. The moment for me when I realized we had gold was with the original Assault mode. Nobody to that point had done any sort of a battle of that scale that you could play in single player with AI characters that storm the beach with you, or play in multiplayer where you're attacking a submarine or underwater city or anything like that. We took the combination of the fantastic environments of the Unreal universe and we combined it with a tremendous amount of polish and wound up with something that was truly memorable that gamers to this day look back on and they just have great memories of.
I think before Unreal Tournament, multiplayer gaming was something that was kind of that hardcore players did. And as a result, it was intimidating both in terms of getting connected and then also in terms of becoming part of the community. And so those were the two things we wanted to address. And the two ways we addressed that, one was by building an interface that made it really easy for players to get online and play with their friends. And then the second thing is, with our really good AI, we were able to give people a taste of what multiplayer gaming was like before they kind of jumped in and exposed themselves to the internet players.
I think when you take your average Unreal Tournament fan and you mention to them that there's another chapter in the series coming along, they're rabid. They have tattoos of the logo.
Well, the one thing we really learned with Unreal Tournament was this idea that we should take our time and get it right. And Jay Wilbur has this great saying, you can have it right or you can have it right now.
I think it's because they know they're going to get something that's fantastic and is also a quality product. They know that at the end of the day, for the amount of money they pay, they're going to get thousands of hours of an experience, and they can modify the world and mold their own environments and create their own characters. And that's a community they get to participate in by playing Unreal Tournament and modifying it.
About a third of the developers at Epic actually come from the mod community. And these are people who started out by programming mods or building their own levels in Unreal. And these tend to be the most enthusiastic people you can find in the industry. They didn't come here for the money, they didn't build games because they needed a steady job. They did it just for fun and for passion.
One amazing fact that people don't realize is that a lot of people have used Unreal Tournament games as their resume, as their springboard into the industry. A lot of the people that work at Epic actually came from the mod community.
The whole idea of the mod community, the fact that we released this product and it actually ships with the very same tools that we use to build the game, it blows my mind to see people get hands-on with these tools. So one of the kind of hallmarks that we have with the franchise is the idea of the trap room. And in the first Unreal Tournament, we had this great map that was an industrial level that had a pressure chamber in it. And we had this technology where we could actually take the characters and make them like bow outward, like they were being inflated with something, and kind of like if a character was released into deep space, as far as they just get ready to pop, right, and they explode into, a bunch of just giant pieces of flesh. And people would go into that chamber looking for power-ups, and you could hit a button and just watch them inflate, and they'd be running around like cursing you and doing taunts and things like that, and they'd pop and you'd get a frag, and yeah, you know what, you could shoot them, but making them explode like that was always 1,000 times more satisfying. I think the whole clan scene is a really fascinating kind of evolution of where the shooter market has gone. I mean, if you take gamers, they want to play together, they want to feel like they're a bigger part of something, and the clan matches, the clan scene is kind of representative of that. And what you actually have now is the idea of professional gamers that have kind of come out of the clan scene, whereas these gamers get together, they become extraordinary at these titles, and then they actually move on to making a great living playing a video game all day long, which, if you ask me, is just absolutely unbelievable, and we encourage it and support it in every way possible.
Altfire, I think, definitely changed the genre, a little bit of first-person shooters. It just added a whole nother layer of, gameplay to the whole gameplay mechanic. You could basically throw in this, like 2 weapons for the price of 1, and in some cases even 3s. I think a lot of games have kind of, took that and ran with it as well after we did it.
So back in the day, during the development of Unreal Tournament, we had a designer named Cedric. He was this crazy Frenchman who one day just made a map that was essentially an asteroid in the middle of space that was rotating. And the first version of Facing Worlds, which is what the map became known as, it's basically 2 towers on an asteroid with Earth in the background. Ultimately, this wound up being the most played CTF map of the original Unreal Tournament. I just think it's because gamers loved popping each other's heads with the sniper rifle. That was like the gold standard, kind of like, default map for Unreal Tournament CTF, which is just to this day, classic top 3 maps of all time.
You like that?
So in the first Unreal Tournament, we had these like taunts that were like a pelvic thrust. And so players could hit a button and they could just kind of like do this kind of thing, and like, it was essentially the original humiliation of its day, because players would knock another player out and the player would be in spectator mode for a second. A player would go over him and just kind of do the thrust and just taunt him and just further enrage him and just undermine their ability to play the game and just be a bastard on the internet.
With Unreal Tournament 2004, we were looking for one major new feature that we could add to Unreal Tournament that would fit well into Unreal Tournament, but still, really extend the gameplay. And we had thought about vehicles, but we were concerned that vehicles wouldn't fit with the really fast-paced on-foot deathmatch style that Unreal Tournament had.
Vehicles were kind of a natural extension of where the market was going, and we knew that, yeah, we would have something that was kind of like a buggy, but we'd do the Unreal twist on it where we put giant blades in the front of it. And the impact that had on map design was actually pretty tremendous, because no longer could you make a traditional corridor shooter type of environment. You had to make very large scale terrain-filled environments that could handle flying vehicles and driving vehicles and hover vehicles in a large node-based system such as what Onslaught introduced in 2004.
Short time to spectacle and carnage, carnage, carnage.
Epic is a company that has a reputation for making stellar product that does not ship before its time. We also have a reputation for making beautiful product that plays extraordinarily well. And Unreal Tournament has always been the crown jewel in what we do as developers.
At Epic, we have a real passion for this kind of game. I mean, it's our heritage, it's in our DNA, it's what we do. Unreal Tournament, it's in our blood. I can't see us not making Unreal Tournament games.
This is the trophy that we put on the box cover, and we got a bunch of these made for all the developers on the original Unreal Tournament. So this is my trophy for finishing Unreal Tournament.
I can't believe you found one that's actually still intact. Like, this breaks off and this breaks off, and everyone I've seen is in pieces.
Wow, this is a trophy from the original Unreal Tournament game we shipped. Is it? I don't remember the year.
To me, this is kind of one of the defining symbols of the franchise, and just holding it now actually kind of makes me a little weak. You have a tissue?
For those willing to build a mountain of bones and climb to the top, in environments that stun, against AI that kills, for those willing to stake their lives in the pursuit of victory, we salute you.